So now look at now I'm speaking right now towards Israeli founders. And I'm going to give some use cases that I'm seeing. We think about, well, I'm a founder. So where is my warm network practically? Who are my Hasidim? Who is my tribe? And I'm going to give some very interesting examples of what we're seeing. Let's take a look at, for example, let's look at the army. We have a certain entrepreneur that I know very well. His first company, his first customer, came because that decision maker that owns that specific unit of this corporate, they serve together very closely in the army.
Yeah.
Right? Very simple model here. We don't need to go cold outreach. Let's look at another option right here. Your lawyer. We're seeing a very interesting pattern across my clients right now, where they're basically asking their lawyers and their accountants, PwC, Per Cohen, do you have any leads for me? Yeah. Because these lawyers and these accountants are also the lawyers and accountants of other companies.
And I would just remind at this point, for those who are just listening to this podcast, that we have this also on a video YouTube version. And you can see here in a slide that Alex is presenting a bunch of logos that represent different type of, let's call that silos or community-related entities, whether it's the army, law firm, VCs, friends and family that can help us as individuals to utilize our connections in order to get warm introductions and leads, right? So
exactly. Yeah. That's what you're seeing. Let's look at a few that might be you're not familiar with. We're seeing Israel Economic Missions, amazing partners. When, for example, Guy takes his portfolio companies on a roadshow, Austin, San Francisco, Los Angeles, you should know that there are individuals in each one of those hubs that their whole job and their KPI is setting up conversations and meetings for you.
Yeah.
How to leverage those people, that's a great question. But I've seen with my own eyes, with my customers and prospects, they're effectively leveraging individuals they don't have to pay for as part of the Israel ecosystem, right? Very, very powerful avenue of directions. And obviously the one that you should know, of course, is friends, family, and fools. Of course. Yeah. Those are going to be the individuals that you're going to target that have their relationships. Now, remember, the content here that I'm highlighting is, it's all about who can vouch for me, who trusts me enough to say this is the right person for you to solve this problem.
Yeah.
So how do we make that introduction work well? What's the process and that we do that? Very simple. Focus on when you're sharing your list of this are people I want you to connect me to. What does that person have to gain from this conversation? Really crucial. Not what you have to gain from it. Right? We always think it's about us. But in sales and in businesses, in this point, it's about how can I benefit? And there's really only a few different categories of how you can benefit. Yeah. One could be with an investment process, well, they fit your thesis. Therefore, I think they're relevant. In terms of impact, some individuals, they feel like they want to give back. So it's a social piece. Like we believe there's
I want to help. I want to give advice. I want to be involved. Yeah, right. I want to do good.
You want to do good, and
yeah. I'll say to people, sorry for cutting you, Alex. No, don't underestimate the amount of people that will be willing to meet you just for the sake of feeling better about themselves and feeling that they contribute, and they can actually, of course, contribute and give concrete advice. But don't underestimate good-hearted feelings of people.
Yeah. Oh. I'll tell you that in my business, that's made the biggest change. Is that my mentors were very wealthy individuals. This one guy that I was very close to in San Francisco, literally every email he only responded. There was never a time he responded more than 3 letters.
Yeah.
He was so busy. But boy, he loved me. He loved me because he saw this guy who he just was so genuine. Man, I have kids and I have his business and I'm hustling. He looked at me and said, man, I see a younger me in you. And boy, I love you. And we had such a close relationship, right? Give the outline of the intro, who you are, what the business value proposition is, what's the team, what are you looking for? You're going to just give that to your connection to make that connection and let them personalize it, right? That's the template is important, but realize if it's a personal connection, they will personalize this directly. Now, I want to highlight this point, and what I've shared so far, you've heard in the past. But I'm noticing this other thing that's really crucial. You have to always challenge your relationships. And the way that we challenge our relationships is by asking for support. Now, for example, if you have a certain person you believe is your ally, but he's not willing to open up his network for you, it's a really great question to a great, strong, difficult conversation. We're seeing that right now in the fundraising space. When you go to a board member and you say, can you make an intro to this set of investors? When he makes that intro, he's basically saying, I trust this person. And if he says no, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
What do you think about that guy?
I think that I agree, and it goes down really deep in terms of people that are utilizing or trying to utilize their network or extended network, because we have a different definition. It's a soft term of what network is. And sometimes I get reach outs from people that I would assume think that I'm part of the network because we bumped into each other in an event or we sat for coffee a few years back, and then they want my help. And for me, it's not just the timing of their approach or what would they ask for me, let's say an intro to an investor or to a client, but also the context, the meta, the way they do it. If they do it in a very casual way after a few years that we didn't talk to each other and just assume that I would help without giving me context, or if they try to get coffee with me and grab my time without really explaining upfront what do they want, what happened over the last few years in a few liners, just be very concrete about it. I talk about it in my networking workshop. So this whole slide for me is an art, is a lecture of an hour and a half explaining how to do it right.
Yeah.
And it's so important, this notion of not just understanding that I can utilize my network, I need to also understand the other side's value, speaking with me or helping me, then helping other people helping us, and sending all the right info probably upfront in order to make the other side, more approachable and better understand what I need from him.
So to add to what you just said, when I do this exercise with my clients, I ask them to rate their warm network, right? So from 1 to 10. And then remember this, if you are asking an individual for a warm intro, they are putting their social capital on the line.
Yes.
And you better realize if this person says no, that's okay. But it just shows you, I thought he was a 10. I thought that this person was so it's a great way to test the relationship.
Yep.